Hey everybody, my name is Tyler and welcome to the Miller's Homestead. Here we talk about chickens, dogs, gardening, anything and everything homesteading related. So today I want to talk about our gardening and our gardens and harvest time here in South Central Pennsylvania, which is where we live. And so I've learned a lot of things this year. We did not get our seeds in the ground as soon as we wanted to. A lot of what you see here was direct sown, except for these are all volunteer tomato plants. I have carrots in here that are direct sown, which are not ready yet. They're doing okay. You can see, the tops are good on them. Spinach in here, planted way too late. It bolted to seed pretty much as soon as it started growing. It just didn't do well. My lettuce is still doing pretty good. It's starting to finish off here. Swiss chard is ending its run. And then I was actually really late getting all my peppers planted, but you can see how well these green pepper plants are doing. These here were all planted from seed. Every single big pepper plant you see here, these ones here, this one, and these jalapeno plants were all from seed. These smaller ones here, this one, these couple in the middle, I started as seedlings about 4 weeks after that, I think, maybe a little bit sooner than 4 weeks. But then I transplanted them here to this bed where I had gaps because I didn't get a great germination rate inside this bed for some reason with some of these seeds. But as you can see, these jalapenos are starting to come on pretty good. They're not, I could pick these, but they're still kind of small. I haven't really fertilized or in this bed or anything. One thing I did do is put whole eggs inside this bed before I planted anything, like weeks before, if not like a month or two before. I put eggs in here, broke them up, and mixed all the ground together. These are yellow peppers. I bought these at a farmer's market as plants. You can see there's one there I need to probably pick in the next few days. But also I got these cherry bomb peppers, which they're kind of hot, not super hot, but when they're red, they're ready to pick. This one here is probably ready to go. But then, they're really just regular bell peppers, but they turn yellow. This one's no good. It has a black spot on it. I know I'm going through this pretty fast, but I just want to kind of cover everything that we have and then kind of share, what worked, what didn't go well for us. But next, we had our beefsteak tomatoes. Believe it or not, this is only about 2 plants, maybe 3. See, 1, 2, 3. They have just really taken off, and a lot of them are really green still, though. Here we have okra, and I've never planted okra before, but it was an experience to learn how big okra grows. I don't think I'd ever grow okra in a raised bed like this again, only because it's really blocking out the sun from my peppers in the afternoon. Especially right here, you can tell that's why they're not as big. But we're getting a really good harvest on them. I haven't harvested any yet, but you can see here's some okra right there. They're pretty big pieces. I was asked some people what to do with them, and they said to pick them when they're smaller, and then you deep fry them or you pickle them. But we have a lot of okra coming on. And I will share a screenshot of the spreadsheet I used for planting. I put the dates of when I planted stuff and then the estimated harvest dates. And I'm recording this on August 19th. So we'll compare it to see how it looks compared to, when stuff was actually ready. And then I actually have okra also planted back here in the field. I don't think this is gonna make it as far as getting to the point where it's gonna produce actual okra, because they're just kind of struggling. Looks like the bugs are getting to them. They're not really getting tall and strong stalks like those ones over there. The leaves are decent size, but I just don't think they're gonna do so great. And I think it's because I planted them really late. I planted them probably the same time I planted those peppers in the garden over there, the second round of peppers, but the peppers are doing much better than the okra. The other thing we have here is zucchini, another crop that we planted late, but I actually just pulled some off this morning. The plants are doing pretty well and getting a decent amount of zucchini from them too. And there's one here. Still small, not gonna pick that off yet. And then this is actually our cucumber patch that we had that was also planted late, and it's just now finishing off. I didn't mow it off yet because the chickens love it, and they'll take any cucumbers they can get. We did a lot of pickles this year, fresh canning, keeping them in the fridge, as well as hard canning. And I'm really happy with how it turned out. And I'm probably gonna plant the same amount as I did this year. next year because it just gave us more than what we need. We could have done a better job weeding it clearly, but whenever we were picking them like 2 weeks ago, none of these big tall weeds were in here. It was a lot easier to get in and find cucumbers. And then in here we actually had peas. They're done, we harvested them. It's really hard to homestead, have a garden, be self-sufficient, and work a full-time job like I do and some side work, and be involved with your church and be involved in your family's lives and your kids' lives. And Summer is a stay-at-home mom, so she's with the girls all the time and she's homeschooling. And we have Ruby, and then we got Milo, who's a puppy. And it's just really, really hard to keep up with a garden whenever you got so much stuff going on, you know, but you got to try to do your best to make the best out of it as you can. And, you know, for not being able to dedicate a ton of time to it, I think we're seeing a pretty good harvest here. Usually you can start to plant right around Mother's Day here in South Central PA. We really got a late start. We didn't plant some of our stuff till June, like the middle of June. And I think if we did some more okra earlier, that we'd have a better harvest of that. And I think our lettuce and our Swiss chard would have done better because those do a lot better in cooler climates or cooler weather than they do this, you know, heavy heat of the summer. That's kind of the garden update and, you know, what we did this year and what worked and didn't work for us. I think peppers we'd be okay planting the same time next year, but I'd like to stagger them out a little bit more and plant a section earlier, then plant another section, then plant it. That way you get 3 waves of peppers. And that back bed, I built that one this year. That's why it's only half full and it's missing a lot of dirt because we just didn't get around to putting more soil in it. And we just planted what we could in it. But I think for next year, what I'd do different is the okra would be planted in the field. You know, but this kind of depends how that does too. These raised beds really do well with pretty much anything you plant in them. But I'd like to try planting okra in the field earlier. Peppers, I like doing in raised beds, never have any issues. I would still do lettuce and Swiss chard in a raised bed and spinach. Tomatoes do okay in raised beds. They just take everything over. And there was actually onions in here right along the side. And somehow these tomatoes volunteered and just shot up and just overtake everything. There's still some onions in here, and I just pulled 2 out last night and they were still good. But the onions or the tomatoes just completely took over. You can see, maybe you can see there's another one right in here. It's kind of dark, but there's an onion in there still. Now, as far as a fall garden, I'm not sure if we're gonna do anything yet. I'd like to try planting garlic and see how that goes. We also have our chicken tractor back here, our John Siskovich chicken tractor that does not have chickens in it right now. And I know a lot of people use those as greenhouses during the fall and winter months. And so that's also an idea I'm tossing around. Now I'd have to do a lot of work on it to kind of insulate it, put a clear plastic cover on the top, maybe move it on top of one of these beds or something, or I don't know what I'd do. I guess put it over. I could try putting it over the okra if it starts to get cold. But there's all kinds of options for planting stuff in the fall. One thing you can plant in the fall, in the winter, or in the fall in PA are carrots. I planted carrots September last year, and I came out and I harvested them November in the raised beds, and they were good. And I actually had some over the winter in the raised beds. I came out to prepare them in the spring, and there were carrots in there that were perfectly fine to eat. And so carrots actually can spend the winter in your bed, and they preserve themselves. And if they're not good, you'll know, but they were completely fine. Lettuce, you could probably also try to get another round in. Once it starts cooling down, before the frost hits, you could probably plant some lettuce because it grows quick. And there's other things you can try planting. You just have to look at the seed packs and where your zones are at to see, you know, when the time frames are you can plant. I'm ready for things to slow down a little bit because, you know, it's just been one thing after the other. This sun just cannot make its mind out what it wants to do. Because we also do, like I said, corn. That whole field there are fields that run the length beside my grandparents' house the whole way down to the end of the field on the other side of the road. And then there's also corn back here behind the pumpkins. And then there's corn back behind the chickens. So we have our work cut out for us, and we do a lot. You know, we always like harvest time because, you know, it's harvest time. You get to grow stuff, you get to eat it, you get to sell it. It's just nice being able to go out into your garden or your homestead or your fields and just get your dinner.